Hurricane Dorian has now hit the United States, making landfall over Cape Hatteras on the Outer Banks of North Carolina as a Category 1 hurricane. Dorian barreled ashore just before 9 a.m. local time, bringing fierce winds, heavy rain, and severe flooding. One of the worst-hit areas appears to be the island of Ocracoke. People there reportedly raced to their attics as a dangerous storm surge flooded in. Hundreds of people are now believed to be trapped. Authorities say they're doing all they can to get to them. In the Bahamas, there is still a desperate need for help. The official death toll there from Hurricane Dorian is still 30, but hundreds, possibly thousands of people are still missing. And government officials warn the final death toll will be staggering. As Mike Drolet reports, those who survive now find themselves in the midst of an unfolding humanitarian crisis.
The Nixon family has been doing this a lot, the spontaneous hugs reminding them of what they could have lost.
We watched our house got swept away by the tide, and that tide beat the place where we were staying, it beat the door down.
The wind and the waves pushed them in different directions. They lost sight of each other and then somehow found each other again. It's got to be a minor miracle.
That's a major miracle. I'm a pastor. That's a major miracle. I believe in God. Listen, my faith went to another level.
Everybody we encountered has a similar story of survival, of losing everything, but the lucky ones happy they held on to what mattered most.
I had to take my 3 kids and my wife, and we had to get out. We had to swim to safety.
The list of missing is massive, with the government warning Bahamians to prepare for unimaginable information about a death toll that could rise into the thousands. But there's no way of knowing how many for sure, as evidenced by the fact Elijah Esho is still here. His phone had lost power before the hurricane hit. 8 days later, when he got power, he found out he'd been put on the list of those missing, likely dead.
I saw over like 500 messages, 600 messages, and then 1,000 messages.
The UN says some 70,000 who were lucky to survive could suffer greatly if they don't get food, water, and medicine immediately. For days, Canadian aid agency Global Medic has been getting ready to move in with their own water treatment systems. Fresh water will make a difference, even more so for former NHLer Andre DeVoe, a native Bahamian who lost contact with his father on Saturday, only to hear from him finally on Thursday night.
It's been a load off me for sure. The first few days I was pretty tense and I was getting pretty frustrated. What do you mean we're not going right now? What do you mean we're going to have to wait?
Now, they were able to get a small team in there today. They brought a couple of systems with them, and they're going to get right to work getting fresh water to the people that need it. They're also gathering a lot of resources in Toronto at a bunch of donation centers, and as soon as those are full, they're going to ship them down here. But even that poses a problem because we're at the airport right now. It's going to come in here. We have to get it then to the islands to the north. And that's a real problem because the government's been heavily criticized for putting a little too much red tape on things and not allowing pilots to fly. One we've heard has actually flew in, got so fed up he flew in by himself and ended up getting a citation from the government. Donna?
Mike, what are you hearing about what might be the true scope of the death toll there? What are people telling you they've seen?
Well, what they are seeing is a lot of death, a lot of suffering. We've heard people talking about parents having to choose between holding one child and the other. There's the human toll on these people. Even if they didn't lose somebody personally, what they've seen is going to stay with them for the rest of their lives. Also, the government is ordering more morticians and body bags in because the morgues on those islands are full. And the problem with that is that there are far too many bodies in the street, in the rubble, and floating in the bay, and floating in the ocean for them to deal with all at once. It's quite the scene.